Hi everyone, my name is Ashton Gleckman, hope you guys are doing well. Yesterday I posted a track from my album Fragments called Aura of Wonder, and I got a couple requests to break down the track, so I thought we'd just look at a bit about how the sounds were made, a little bit that went into some of the percussion programming. This track in specific, I really wanted to focus on rhythm and creating grooves, so I was cutting up a lot of these percussion slash glitch samples. I thought we'd dive into all that fun stuff. If you guys are interested in checking out the album Fragments, you guys can look on Amazon, as well as iTunes and Spotify, and it's also available on a physical copy through my website. But without further ado, here's the track. So the first thing that we have in this track are these two background ambience layers. And the first thing is a nature sound, so it's almost like air, and if you listen really closely you can hear like bird chirping. And then you have this vinyl crackling sound. So then for the pads, we have two different things from the Oliver Arnold's Composer Toolkit. And the first thing is probably one of my favorite patches like ever. It's the Evo Ambience. And then we have another pad, which I think is dark something. Yeah, dark hold. And then them both together. And then for the piano, we're using the Oliver Arnold's Felt. And the thing I love about this specific one is that it combines two different elements. So you have the normal sort of felt sound, and then you have the space piano. But when you put them both together, it just creates this beautiful, beautiful sort of oceanic. And then everything together sounds like this. So then in terms of the chords and everything, we're just sticking within the key of A flat major, so. And so like this specific section was. And we're also using this chord quite a bit, which is just taking the 4 and adding it on top of the 3, which creates a beautiful sort of. And then going into this next section, we introduce all these different percussive elements. And these are actually all small little snippets from a library called Origin Sounds Atmospheres. And so I took all these individual samples and just cut them up and sort of structured them in a way to where it creates a groove. So that all sounds like this together. So you can see that initial sound is like a reverse. We have those tiny little sort of hi-hat clicks. We have that underlying sort of bass pulse. We have those bass drum hits. And then on bar 34, we bring in this sort of bongo hit. So in terms of all the individual layers, I'm just going to go ahead and go through and solo each one. So here's layer 1, layer 2, and then we have the reverse clip. And then we have this next one, almost like an 808. There's the bongo sound. And then the last one is sort of like the kick, but with less punch and more of just like a boomy sound. And then again, all together. And then leading up all the way to where the piano comes in for the last time at the end of the track, the vinyl is just sticking through the whole thing. So then going into this next section, we have a few more percussive elements, and it's mainly just a more sort of tight-knit beat. The first thing I believe is from the Colossus. Yeah, from the Colossus. It's called Ioruma Kick. I hope I probably didn't pronounce that right. But it's just like a really nice punchy low end groove. And then we have the snare drum, which is taking a sample from Omnisphere, which sounds like this. Not very pretty. Really not really pretty. And then we put it through a filter. And then we get that. And then we have more of these other sample cutting rhythmic elements. And then all together, our rhythm section sounds like this. And so then for our synth section, we have this patch, which I created in Omnisphere, and I just took a sample essentially of a harp being played with tons of reverb, just repeating, and then I brought it in on C4 and just expanded it so it creates this really, really nice pad layer. And you just add a subtle filter on it, and it just sort of rounds off the rough ends of the sound. But then we have this patch again from the Oliver Arnold's Composer Toolkit. And then we have another Omnisphere pad. You can see the release is like really, really sudden, so it gives off a really nice feel when combined with rhythmic elements. And then we have our sub bass, which is just supplying all the low end. Again, overall pretty inaudible, but it just really adds a certain effect and just fills off all of the space in the bottom end of the mix. So then we have our kalimba, which is also from the Oliver Arnold's Composer Toolkit, and it has a great just sort of shiny, shimmery sound to it. And then all of those together sound like this. So next for our pianos and harp section. So the first thing is this Spitfire mute sound. And we've put on this sort of gate, which is called a rotary. And that just sort of gives it a certain rhythmic pulse. If we take it off, it just sounds a bit more. We turn it on, it creates a bit more of an electronic rhythmic sound. And then we have a reverse piano, and I love me some reverse pianos, especially from all those classic Harry Gregson Williams scores. So we have the reverse piano, the harp, and then also adding on the Oliver Arnold's piano, which is just sitting above everything. So not only on this track, but on most of the tracks and fragments, the piano plays a really important role, and it sort of is what the voice would be on like a pop song. And I just think the piano is such a beautiful, versatile instrument. And so throughout the tracks and fragments, I'm using a lot of piano, not only in a more upfront state like this, but also a lot of sonic manipulation. So here's an example of that. It's not as prominent as it is in other tracks, but you can see I've taken it and created this rhythmic pulse with it. So it's just really resampling, so putting in the MIDI, exporting the audio, resampling it, and you can see we put on a chopper, which just creates a rhythmic gate to it. So we have a Bedlam piano, which is from the Spitfire Labs range, and the cool thing about this piano is that it just sounds really, really old and grungy, which combined with something that sounds a bit more pristine, like the Oliver Arnold's piano. And in this specific section here on, right around bar 75, they're playing triplets over a more sort of standard straight rhythm, which creates a nice swaying feel. And the reverse piano element is just continuing, so here is all of the keyboards and harps together. And then our strings in this track is pretty simple. We're just using the chamber evolutions. And then I've run one through a chopper, which is set to like 16ths. And then more chamber evolutions. And then we have a few trem waves also from evolutions, but it's from the wave section. And then, all together, it sounds like this. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions or comments, do feel free to leave those down below. Fragments is available on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon. If you guys want to check out a physical copy, it's through my website. But thank you guys again so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.